I'm a LinkedIn top voice, an award given by LinkedIn headquarters. And every day I teach people how to use LinkedIn effectively and get results. And even though there are thousands of things you can learn on LinkedIn, there's ultimately three things everybody wants. They want to have their profile optimized so it looks good. They want to write content that gets some kind of engagement. And they want to generate sales. Yes, there's hundreds of other things as well, like they want to go viral, which is not as important as you think, and they want to get big numbers, which again is important, but not as important as you think. But I'm going to focus on the three things that people use the most first and are most important to them. And I'm going to focus more on optimizing your profile first, because that's the first thing people do and first thing people see. It's your headline banner. So don't have your headline banner blank. Don't have a picture of a big city in it unless you happen to work in real estate or aerial photography. Tell people what you do in the banner, or even better, tell them how you help them. Make sure your photograph is looking right into the camera. Make sure it's not a picture of you on a beach. I've seen pictures of people with their partners cut in the middle and their partners cut off. Don't do that. Don't have tank top or sunglasses unless you're selling tank top or sunglasses brand. Look into the camera and smile. And just to be clear, the camera can be something simple like an iPhone or an Android. Have a guest a plain background, look into the camera and smile, because that is the first thing people see, and first impressions do count. So a banner, you're looking into the camera, and then your headline. Now, if you happen to be, I don't know, let's say a sales executive, don't just say sales executive. Tell people again, you can say sales executive, helping people achieve this, helping you convert this, working with you to achieve this, helping you get the best results. Again, if you can, tell people not just what you do, but how you can help them out. Tell people how you can help them out. And that's it. That shouldn't take you too long. That should really take you less than 5 minutes. So the feature section, not that many people talk about it. Very few people refer to it, but it's there. It's one of these things. It's not massively important, but it's good to get right. And in the featured section, you can take articles you've done that have really connected well with an audience, or articles or posts you've done that really got good engagement, and use those for people to see. I don't really know many people who talk about the featured section, but it's there. Now, the part that does take a little bit of time is the about section. And people either tend to have just a few lines in their about section, or they tend to override it and cram it full of every single word. And my advice to everybody on LinkedIn is they always ask, what's the most important thing on LinkedIn? And I always say the most important thing is standing out. It's not about being the best, because being the best is so subjective. You know, who's the best football team? Who's the best rock star? Who's the best singer? Who's the best actor? It's different for everybody. Standing out is what's going to get you attention. So when I look at my about section, I look at other people in my industry and what they do. And I pretty much go in the opposite direction. And I encourage everybody to do that. Whatever you see other people doing, do not under any circumstance copy. Be inspired, but don't copy. Ever. Go in a different direction. So in your about section, ultimately, it's about how you help people. Don't go around saying, I'm a passionate person, I'm a people person, because that's overused. Make sure your about section doesn't say, I do this, I do that, I do that, because ultimately, people care about how you help them. That's business. People want to know, how do you help them? They don't want to hear your life story. When it comes to writing content, storytelling, of course, is important. And telling a personal story now and again is important to connect with people. And we'll come to that in the next video. But for the time being, in your about section, tell people how you help them. Have lots of white space in your about section to make things easy to read. There's a good chance the people you want to do business with are incredibly busy. All day long, they're in meetings, quite often meetings about meetings. They're often doing so many things in a day, quite often managing staff as well, doing reports, doing budgets, doing all kinds of things. So when you do come across them on social media to get their attention, make life as easy as you possibly can for them. Tell them how you help them. Have a call to action at the end of your about section. And there's a little bonus, have a few lines about yourself that have nothing to do with work. Tell people what you enjoy doing in your free time, because people buy into people. There's no saying people buy into people they like, know, and trust, which is very true. And although now technology is moving at an incredible rate, and it's very important to evolve with the times, there are certain old school things which haven't changed. And in most cases, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. So that's your About section. That will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And while you're doing that, it's okay to know that every month or so you might end up tweaking a few lines here, tweaking a few lines there. That is absolutely fine. Now, beneath the About section, you will have what's called activity. That allows people to see what it is that you do. They can see every post you make, and more importantly, they can see every comment you make. And when someone sends anybody a LinkedIn invite, they will see your banner first, they'll see your picture, they'll see your headline. Then they'll look at your About section. Me personally, before even looking at the About section, I actually jump straight to the comments and posts, because I want to know what kind of person you are. And if you're doing posts that are giving value to people or being supportive to people, you're somebody I want to know. If you're doing comments to people that are a bit abrupt, abrasive, rude, sarcastic, inappropriate, then I reject your invite immediately. People can see everything you're doing on LinkedIn, so always be aware of that. I've had a good habit, in fact, to talk to people on LinkedIn the way you speak to them in real world. Okay? And if you ever come from a place of being supportive, caring, serving, giving value, you'll be going the right direction. Okay? So people can see all your comments and all your posts in the activity section, so please be aware of that. So beneath that, you then have experience. Now, people don't tend to go through every part of your experience over a few years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, depending on how long you've been working. They will tend to look at the first place you look at, sometimes the second, but definitely the first. So make sure you, again, don't just say, I worked at this company from here to here. Tell people what you do, how you help them. If you can include any useful information at all about pictures of yourself with your customers, pictures of yourself at events. If you can also include things like testimonials, any awards you've won, this is all social proof. And as I'll come to shortly, social proof is huge in business in general, and it is massive on LinkedIn. Social proof. Whenever people want to do business with you, they look at your banner first, your photograph, your headline, check out your About section. Sometimes they'll read the featured section, not necessarily. They'll often look at the first part of your experience section. One thing almost everybody I know looks at is the recommendations. They want to know what people have said about you. Not just people you have worked with, but customers. Customers are a better gauge of what you really like to work with rather than a colleague or a former boss. That's good to get, but a client, that says so much more. And the client has to write the testimonial. You can't do it yourself. They have to do it. So how do you go about asking for a testimonial? Sure, you can say things like, can I have a testimonial? It's not very original, but you could ask that. What I like to say to a customer I work with, I make sure I've done really good work with a customer, really over-deliver to a customer. And I'll ask, what was the experience like working with me? And I'll listen to what the customer said, and I'll take notes. And I'll ask them, did I over-deliver to you at any stage of the project? Because I make an effort to always over-deliver to my customers. Give them more value than what they paid for. It's just a great rule in business. I listen to what they say. And then I say, as I'm sure you know, testimonials are very important to businesses. Or in my case, testimonials are very important to small businesses. Would it be okay if I type out what you've said and sent it to you as a LinkedIn recommendation? And about 80% of people will say yes. In all fairness, of the 80% who say yes, half of them will forget it because they have other things going on in their lives, they have other things going on in their business that are more important and bigger priorities to them. In that case, it's okay to follow up in a week's time and just ask them, by the way, you very kindly offered to write me a recommendation. Can you please do that? There's nothing wrong with following up with people. In fact, most business is in the follow-up. So that's your testimonials. And just say you're pitching a customer. There's a good chance if you're talking to a customer, they're quite often speaking to your competitor. And just say that the customer is very tired, they're stressed, they had a long day. Sometimes, even though you think you're different to your competition, sometimes the customer doesn't see it, or they haven't got around to thinking about it carefully. And they often default to price, which is a disaster. But sometimes before they do that, they look at your recommendations. And if you have 20 recommendations and your competitors have 0 or 1, there's a good chance you're going to win that business, or gives you a better chance of winning that business. That's why recommendations are important. When you go on holiday, what do? You ask friends and family for recommendations. You often go into Google and you have a look at TripAdvisor for recommendations. When you're on Amazon, what do? You look at Amazon reviews before you buy something. Recommendations matter in every area of life, and LinkedIn recommendations are no different. Now, at the bottom, you have a featured section. You can talk about courses you've done, articles you've written. Again, I don't know many people who have ever referred to that during all the years I've been on LinkedIn, but it's there. And then finally, who you're following. I like to look at who people are following, because so many people I know will follow a Tony Robbins who I've seen live, or a Gary Vaynerchuk who I've seen live, or an Oprah Winfrey whose books I've read, or Brene Brown whose books I've read. Or quite often, there's quite a few soccer stars or sports stars on LinkedIn. That's a fantastic way to start a conversation with people as well. One thing I have actually missed out on, I've just remembered, is a volunteering section, and where you tell people the kind of volunteering work you've done. If you've done volunteering work, please put it in there. If you haven't done any volunteering work, I would encourage you to do some. It tells a lot about somebody, the kind of charity work they do and who they work for. I often find when I'm selling into, quite often when I work with companies, my business is either one-to-one, which is simple and straightforward, or usually once or twice a month, I have to do group training on LinkedIn or sales. Sometimes I have to convince a CEO, a board of directors, and several people to work with me. And there's often multiple people involved in the decision-making process. It might only be one decision maker, but there's often multiple people involved in the decision-making process. And when that happens, it's very important to understand that you have to connect with the CEO. CEOs do not do small talk in most cases. You cannot say, hello, how are you, to a CEO. They don't appreciate that. But I often go straight in to say, I see you've done charity work with the Princess Trust or with this cancer research. So have I. And we can talk about things like that. It's a great way to communicate with people. So there you go. That is the first part of the LinkedIn. It's optimizing your profile. Get that right. That's the simpler part. And the next video, we will talk about writing content that engages with people and helps build your brand. And don't forget, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get new insights on sales and LinkedIn. Thank you.